On today's show, the Cavs almost blew that game against the Spurs on Friday night. We'll talk about what happened in that second half. Plus, there were two very, very important things that I thought came out of that first half in the win over San Antonio. We'll dive into all that and so much more on today's edition of Locked On Cavs.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? My name is Danny Cunningham, and you might know me from my time covering the Cleveland Cavaliers, places like my Substack, The Inside Shot, Cleveland Magazine, 92.3 The Fan, and a number of other stops along the way. I want to say thank you to you for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. You can find the show anywhere you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating. Leave us a nice review. Be a friend. Tell a friend about Locked On Cavs. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure a friend is subscribed as well. And if you're watching the show on YouTube, do me a favor. Hit that thumbs up button for me. Click subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content. A proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's show, of course, is brought to you by FanDuel, because right now new FanDuel customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. It's $200 in bonus bets with that first $5 bet winning. The Cleveland Cavaliers on Friday night beat the San Antonio Spurs 114-113. And it was a game that should not have been nearly this close. The Cavs led by halftime at 17. They led, I believe, by as many as 23 in this game. There were portions of the game where the Cavs just were dominating San Antonio. And they allowed the Spurs to get back into this game because of what I thought was a complete lack of focus in the second half. I thought it was a lack of execution in the second half. And I thought that they just didn't treat the game the right way in the second half. And watching, maybe more so the final 5 minutes or so of this game, because I don't think it's fair to say the entire second half they were like that. Like, there were certainly some good moments in the second half where they looked good. And, San Antonio came back and then the Cavs pushed the lead back out and then San Antonio came back again. So I don't want to say that it was just 24 minutes of bad basketball, because that wouldn't be true, but it was certainly more bad basketball in the second half than good basketball in the second half. And we will, of course, talk about what went right in the first half, because I think there's a lot of good stuff to take away from this game. Going to talk about Evan Mobley, going to talk about the three-point shooting. We will get to that coming up in a little bit. But I kind of just want to get the bad stuff out of the way first, because ultimately the Cavs won. They did a lot of good stuff. I do think that there are good things that need to be talked about, but we can't ignore what happened in the second half. And in watching the end of this game, it reminded me of a quote from J.B. Bickerstaff. And this quote from Bickerstaff came after the Cavs lost to the Golden State Warriors. It was Donovan Mitchell's first year in Cleveland, and Golden State was on the second night of a back-to-back in Cleveland. They played in Boston the night before. Stephen Curry didn't play. Klay Thompson didn't play. Draymond Green didn't play. I don't believe Andrew Wiggins played in that game. That was, I've joked with people, that game is one of the reasons why Ty Jerome is on the Cavs, because he had at that point the best game in his career. And the Warriors, with nobody really playing other than Ty Jerome and Jordan Poole, came into Cleveland and beat a pretty good Cavs team. Because to phrase it as JB Bickerstaff did after that game, they didn't respect the game. They did not respect the game of basketball that game. And that's kind of how I felt watching some of the fourth quarter on Friday night. Like, the Cavs thought that because of how well they played in the first half, and as I mentioned, they did a lot of things well, offensively and defensively, I thought, in the first half. Like, there was a lot to be happy with. But I kind of felt like they came out in the second half, and because they played so well in the first half, and San Antonio is a team that they're going where they're going. Like, they're going to be good in a couple of years. They're not good right now. Part of the reason why they're not good right now is who is not available for them right now in Victor Wembanyama and De'Aaron Fox. But that's a Spurs team that, despite not being super talented with what the current healthy available roster is still a group that is playing hard. And they're not necessarily trying to rack up the wins. But I also think when you look at some of these games that the Cavs play against tanking teams, would those tanking teams be willing to sacrifice, quote unquote, sacrifice a win over the Cavs as opposed to bettering their lottery odds? Probably. Like, I just think that those are moments when you are a young team that is trying to build up. Those are moments to build on, and it's worth winning that game rather than just lying down. And I think that the Cavs came out of the locker room in the second half, and Jarrett Allen did not play in the second half. We will talk about that too. But I thought that the Cavs came out in the second half and they played basketball for the most part. Again, not the full 24 minutes of the second half, but they sort of played in the second half like they had already won the game, like that the game was over at halftime because they built a 17-point lead, because they were playing the Spurs, because of where we're at in the season. They just thought, oh, you know what? This is good. We're fine. We don't have to come out and do things the right way in the second half. And it nearly burned them. Like that is a game that realistically, because of how they played down the stretch, because of how bad I thought the offense was down the stretch where there was too much isolation. And yes, I think we probably look at this game a little bit differently if that ball doesn't go through DeAndre Hunter's hands, if that ball doesn't go through Evan Mobley's hands. And were those, the Hunter ones on Hunter, I think he should catch that 99 out of 100 times. The pass to Mobley was fired pretty hard. Like that's a tough catch. And Evan's got, I think, pretty good hands. And that was just one that he couldn't come up with. I think that one was more on the pass than the catch, where I think the one on Hunter was more on the catch than the pass. But regardless, if those two things go differently, we're probably having a little bit of a different conversation, not necessarily thrilled with the way the Cavs closed that game, regardless of that. But I think that certainly plays into it. But offensively, it wasn't good enough. Defensively, it wasn't good enough. Like Harrison Barnes, the shot that he took in the final seconds of the game that would have won the game, that was a shot that I think he's probably making 7 out of 10 times. And the Cavs got lucky. They dodged a bullet that he missed that shot. Like that is one that I think probably should have gone down. And Harrison Barnes, if you had asked him, and I don't know what he said after this game, but he probably feels like that one should have gone down. And the Cavs never should have been in that spot because they did play, I thought, 24 minutes of pretty good basketball to open up this game. And then they just didn't finish. And I think you can look at this a couple of ways. The one thing that I do think is notable, and just to peel back the curtain a little bit. So when the Cavs are on the road, and I'm not at a road game, obviously I'm not in the locker room, I'm not asking questions, I'm not at Kenny Atkinson's press conference. So I sit on my couch and watch those things. I want to see what is said because that's the best way that I can get the vibe of, the people who matter. And, Donovan Mitchell did the walk-off interview on FanDuel Sports Network with Serena Winters, and he was not happy with the way things went. And Kenny Atkinson at the podium did not seem happy with the way things went. Evan Mobley, who they showed on the broadcast in the locker room speaking with the media afterwards, did not appear to be happy with the way things went. And I do think that is a good sign that those guys in that locker room, and they're a mature enough group, and listen, we're at the point in the season where they know what a good performance is, and that was not one of them. But the fact that they didn't feel as if, we just won, and that's all that matters. Like the standard is for them so much higher. That is a game that they should have finished. They should have won by 20 with the way they played early. They should have won that game by 20 and they didn't. And it's hard for me to sit here and say, oh, it's a failure when they did win a game. And ultimately at the end of the day, you don't get wins for closing out games harder. You get wins for having more points than the other team when the final buzzer sounds. And the Cavs did accomplish that on Friday. So at the end of the day, it still is a win. Like it's not the worst thing in the world. And we've heard so frequently from this team, you would rather learn from wins than losses. I just think this is a lesson they probably need to stop learning. I think this is because we've not seen them at times this year. We've seen them struggle to close out quarters. We've seen them struggle to close out halves. We've seen them struggle to close out games. Like this is what that was. You want to go back a little bit. The win they had in Detroit where Darius Garland hit that 35-foot buzzer beater from the Pistons logo. That followed a very similar script. It's just that Detroit was a little bit better and got the game tied, right? That's kind of what it was. And this has happened. This does happen to everybody. Like, I want to be clear about that. This is not a Cavs specific thing. This happens to Boston probably more than any team in basketball, but that doesn't make it a good thing. And I do think that the Cavs didn't have any focus. And I think that is something that if you want to be worried about that, go ahead and be worried about that. The other thing I will say about this, though, is I think it was a lack of focus. And I don't think that there's going to be a lack of focus when the postseason arrives. I think it's much easier and much more common to see the team not have the requisite focus on Friday, April 4th against the San Antonio team that's going to be in the lottery, as opposed to not having focus in late April in maybe game 3 on the road in Atlanta against the Hawks. in the postseason. I think that the team will recognize the situation better there. And I just think that is something that is worth thinking about. It does not excuse what happened in the second half on Friday, because that was not good enough. They didn't respect the game. They didn't focus. They didn't play the right way, and it almost burned them. But I do think that with this type of thing, it's worth saying, okay, how likely is that lack of focus to catch up to the Cavs in the playoffs? Do we think that this Cavs team is going to lose focus in postseason games? Teams are always going to make runs, right? Like, there's a reason why 20-point comebacks happen in the NBA as frequently as they do, because one, other teams are really good too. Like, those guys get paid just like the Cavs get paid. With the three-pointer being as popular as it is, like, that deficit is much easier to overcome than it ever has been before in the history of the game. And basketball is a game of runs, right? Like, we all know this. This is not breaking news to you. But I don't think that if the Cavs give up a lead in the postseason like they had on Friday night, I don't think it's going to be because of lack of focus. I think it'll probably because more so of execution on the other end. And that wasn't the thing. Like, give San Antonio credit. They played hard. They did some good things. But I thought this was more of a lack of focus thing on the Cavs end. And I don't think that is something that we should expect to see in the playoffs. I just think that this team's more mature than they showed in that second half on Friday night against the Spurs. Okay, we're done talking about the bad stuff from this game. I want to talk about the good things that came out of this game, because Evan Mobley's first quarter was spectacular, and the Cavs did something they haven't been doing lately, and it's a really good thing. I'll tell you what that is next right here on Locked On Cavs. Today's show is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Daylight savings time may have snuck up on you the same way that it snuck up on me a few weeks back. And that sun being up later, sitting at home waiting for the Cavs game to start on Friday, I'm like, wow, the sun is still up. Like, this is awesome. But it's like 7 o'clock, and I had a bit of a, I had a very eventful day on Friday. I will tell you guys about that later. I had an eventful day on Friday, and it's like 7 o'clock, and it's a little gloomy out because the weather's just not great right now in Cleveland. But I'm like, man, I am tired. Like, I need a 5 Hour Energy right now, or it's going to be a struggle for me to get not only through the game, but to get through my podcast later on. Like, I need that pick me up, and 5 Hour Energy is exactly what you should be turning to when you need that pick me up. Because if you're like me, you're staying up late every night watching basketball this time of year. I know I am, and you probably are too if you're listening to this podcast. And as I mentioned the other day, with all of the extra daylight, the extra sunshine on the good days like we had a couple times this week, there's more time to get outside, do things, have some fun activities. Like, what did I mention on Friday's podcast? I said, I'm recording this in the morning and I'm going to play golf. Well, I played 27 holes of golf on Friday, so you can imagine I was a little worn out. 5 Hour Energy is certainly something that I can turn to when I need that pick me up, and it's something you can turn to too. So head to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from. That is 5hourenergy.com, including watermelon, blue raspberry, peach mango. You can even build your own 12-pack or 24-pack and have it delivered right to your door. You need one right now, because you might need one right now. Grab a 5 Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. They are everywhere. Stock up today and stay energized. Again, go to 5hourenergy.com. That is 5hourenergy.com. Today's show is also brought to you by Wayfair. Spring is here. As I just got done saying, the sun's out. It's great. Spring is here. Spring is a time not only for those outdoor activities, but it's a time for revitalization at home. It's time for some of those interior or maybe exterior projects with your living space. And Wayfair is the place to go when you're looking to refresh that room or tackle a full-on renovation. They've got the best kept secret for all things home improvement, from small updates like maybe some new cabinet hardware or a major upgrade like a new vanity sink, even some outdoor lighting because you want to spend some time outside this summer. Wayfair has quality products for every budget imaginable. Their free and fast shipping makes things so easy, and there's no hauling heavy items from the store to your home. That is such a game changer for you. Shopping can be seamless. You find exactly what you need to fit your space and your style. You don't want to compromise. You want exactly what you want. Wayfair is going to have it. They make home improvement easy. So get started now at wayfair.com. That is Wayfair.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Thank you again for making Locked on Cavs your first listen today and every day. Like I said earlier, you can find the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating. Leave us a nice review. Be a friend. Tell a friend about Locked on Cavs. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure a friend is subscribed as well. And make sure you also check out the Locked on Cavs daily newsletter. It's your one stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. You can sign up for free right now at lockedondaily.com. That is lockedondaily.com. I actually had somebody come up to me on Friday, told me they listen on Spotify, which was great to hear. Most podcast listeners are Apple podcasts, but having a Spotify listener was cool. Cool to see that and hear that. But in the first half on Friday night against the Spurs, the Cavs looked, like the Cavs, like the team that we expect them to be. They had a 38-point first quarter, held San Antonio to just 50 points in the first half. I thought they looked good both offensively and defensively. Offensively, they weren't as good in the second quarter as they were in the first quarter, but I thought overall they were pretty good. And Evan Mobley is obviously the thing that came out of the start of this game. Like, his first quarter was one of the best that he's played all season. He had 18 points in the first quarter alone, 7 of 8 shooting, was 4 of 5 from 3. Like, he was just dominant offensively, and he had 2 blocks too. Like, he was good defensively, but the thing that stood out was just how good he was offensively. And the threes all came in rhythm. They came within the flow of the offense. And shout out to Jarrett Allen too for on a couple of Evans threes. Allen, I thought, had some really nice passes to find. The one was in the corner to start the game, another one in the top of the key. Like, those are not easy passes for anybody to make, much less somebody that's not a guard. And I just think Jarrett Allen probably deserves a little bit more credit for who he is as a passer than what he gets. But I thought that this is kind of what I envision Evan Mobley being on a regular basis when he gets to his peak. Like, and it's not that, he's going to hit 4 threes every game, because the offense, I think, is going to come differently. But he's somebody that, right now he's averaging 20 points a game ish, right in that neighborhood. I don't have the exact figure, but that's who he's been, and it's been really good. So he's at 18.5 points a game this season. At his peak, I think Evan is probably going to be somebody that averages 25 to 27 points per game. Well, I think he'll be in that neighborhood, and I think that these games are a peek into the future for him. And not all of them, as I mentioned, are going to have 4 threes. Not all of them are going to be as efficient as he was, where he finished 10 of 13. Like, he's not going to be a guy that shoots 76% from the floor. That nobody's that guy. But I think that the scoring, like where he's getting his buckets from, where he's shooting from, I think it looks a lot like this. I think you're going to see a good mix of perimeter game and interior game. He took 6 threes. I think that's probably about where you want Evan. I don't know that you want him taking 8 or 9 a game, but I think 6 to 7 is probably a pretty healthy spot for him to be living as far as that goes on the perimeter and stuff like that. But overall, I don't know how you could be anything other than super happy with the game Evan played on both ends, because it wasn't just the 25 points and 12 rebounds, 10 of which were defensive. And the Cavs did a good job. San Antonio only had 9 offensive rebounds in this game, and I thought the Cavs did, for the most part, a really good job on the glass, which is something, as you know, has not been the case lately. But Evan finished with 25 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists, had 3 blocks, had a steal. Like, I just thought all around he was the best player on the floor. And I know Donovan Mitchell had a really good game, which is certainly a thing to be happy about, because his last 5 games now have been really, really good. But I thought Evan was the best player on the floor all around. So as I mentioned with Donovan, he had 26 points, 7 assists, hit 6 threes, did have 4 turnovers, which was not the best part of it. But his last 5 games have been really, really good. So, going back to the game, the last time the Cavs played the Spurs, he had 25 points. The game in Detroit, he had 38 points. The game against the Clippers, he had 24 points. And then the other day against the Knicks, he had 27 points. Like, he, since leaving the West Coast trip early, because he left after Utah and was back in Cleveland, he beat the team back to Cleveland, I do believe. Since that, he has looked like Donovan Mitchell again. Before that, he was really struggling. He had a really bad month of March until the very end of it. But since he missed that game against Portland, he has looked back to normal. And I think that is one of the best signs that you can ask for with this Cavs team, because they're not going to win a title without Donovan Mitchell being the guy that he's been lately. It doesn't have to be 30 points every game, but I think the explosion, I think the three-point shooting has bounced back a little bit. Like, he really only has one bad three-point shooting game in his last 5 games, and that was against the Clippers when he was 2 of 9. But against the Spurs last time, he was 4 of 9. Against Detroit, he was 3 of 8. Clippers, as I mentioned, 2 of 9. He was 3 of 7 against the Knicks. On Friday night against the Spurs this time, he was 6 of 11. Like, those are all good three-point shooting games. And that's what Donovan Mitchell, that's what the Cavs offense had been missing, because this was a game where the Cavs were 22 of 51 from 3. And that is what made the Cavs as good as they were, is the three-point shooting. And in the month of March, this was the other positive thing to really come out of Friday night. The fact that they shot the ball so well. So the Cavs entered March, and even the game they played against Portland at the start of the month that they won in Cleveland in overtime, they shot well from 3. They were 19 of 46 in that game. After that game concluded, so if you went to, the Monday morning after, if you pulled up NBA.com and said, I want to see who the best three-point shooting team in basketball is, the Cavs were the answer. They were making 39.5% of their threes as a team from beyond the arc on the morning of March 3rd. And then it cratered. From that point until the start of the game on Friday night, and I've not looked up what this game did for their three-point shooting percentage, but from that point until Friday at 8:09 Eastern time, the Cavs were shooting just 33.9% from 3. That is 28th in the NBA in that time span. So for the last month, not only have they not been the best three-point shooting team in basketball, they've been the 3rd worst three-point shooting team in basketball. And it's not as if, defenses hadn't figured the Cavs out. They were still creating actually slightly more open and wide open three-pointers per game than they were when they were shooting great. It's just they were missing those shots. And a lot of that was Donovan Mitchell. A lot of that was Darius Garland. But to have a really good three-point shooting night is something that I think a lot of what they were missing offensively with the three-point stuff is just really connected to fatigue. Like, I really think that was a lot of tired legs, and that is just something I don't expect to be the case moving forward. And I do think that if you want to take away one thing from this game, it's Evan Mobley. If you want to take away a second thing, it's okay. The Cavs shot the ball really well, like offensively in the first half. They looked like the team that was so dominant earlier this season. And I know it sounds like I've been trying to explain away their struggles, but I really do believe a lot of what they've struggled with in the last month. And obviously they didn't for the first half tonight. The second half, I think, was a lack of focus. Against New York, they didn't shoot the ball that well, but I thought the offense looked better. I think that the fatigue stuff can explain a lot of what went wrong. And I just think that you see this team be a little bit more refreshed physically, and the first half is kind of the result. Now, speaking of guys getting refreshed, Jarrett Allen wants to play in all 82 games, and the Cavs may have found a strategy to make that happen. We will talk about that next right here on Locked On Cavs. Today's show is brought to you by Open Phone. Running a small business means you're wearing a lot of hats. Your personal phone becomes your business phone, and before you know it, you're juggling customer calls day and night. And as your team grows, it becomes impossible to manage everything with just your personal number. That's where Open Phone comes in. It's the #1 business phone system designed to help you keep your work and personal life separate. So for just $15 a month, that's the cost of a few cups of coffee. That's not very much. You get complete transparency and visibility into everything happening with your business phone number. OpenPhone works through an app on your phone or computer. It integrates with tools like HubSpot and hundreds of others. It also uses AI-powered call transcripts and summaries, so you'll have a rundown of your calls and action items the second you hang up. And you miss a call, no problem. Automated messages are sent directly to your customer, ensuring you never miss an opportunity to engage. So right now, OpenPhone is offering 20% off your first 6 months when you go to openphone.com/lockedonnba. That is openphone.com, openphone.com/lockedonnba, LOCKEDON NBA for 20% off your first 6 months. Again, openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. And if you have existing numbers with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge. Again, head on over to openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. Today's show is also brought to you by Epicor. Every team knows the value of hard work, of taking pride in what you build, practicing every detail to get the very best results. But no one player, no matter how amazing, can do it all alone. Working together makes getting the win easier. At Epicor, the All-Stars are the hardworking manufacturers and distributors who create and deliver the things we all need, from aerospace to electrical to medical devices. Epicor ERP solutions are created by industry experts to help make every day easier. Seeing your whole supply chain is easier. Managing logistics is easier. Responding to price changes is easier. From small businesses with big dreams to growing enterprises with global visions, they will equip you with the right tools to move forward, think ahead, and lead the way. Because as the clock ticks down, you need to make the most of every hard-working minute. Easier doesn't cut corners. Easier takes the lead. Discover your success at easierwithepicor.com. That is easierwithepicor.com. Thank you again for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. Like I said earlier, you can find the show on YouTube. And if you're watching right now, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button for me, click subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the latest content from us here at Locked On Cavs. And Jarrett Allen played the first half of this game and then did not play a single second of basketball after halftime. And of course, when you're watching this game and you see, oh, DeAndre Hunter is starting the second half, that's different. And I think you instantly go to, is Max Strus out there? Oh, Max is out there. So what's going on? No Jarrett Allen. And of course, this is the first time this has happened all year because Jarrett Allen has played in every single game that the Cavs have had this year. And Jarrett Allen's goal is to play in all 82 regular season games the Cavs will have. And of course, all the playoff games that will follow after that one. So on the broadcast, it was immediately said that Jarrett Allen's, the plan for Jarrett is to not play in the second half, most likely. This was not an injury thing. This was hey, Jarrett has played a lot of minutes. He has showed up for this team every night. The Cavs certainly respect his goal of wanting to play in all 82 games. It's a very noble goal, especially for a guy who I think maybe heard some of the noise last offseason after he missed games in the postseason against Orlando and against Boston. I'm not saying that he should not have missed them because I think that injury was pretty significant, that like missing games was going to happen there. But I think that he wanted to prove a point that he's durable, and I think that is what he's doing. But I think the Cavs also care much more about what happens in the postseason than what happens in the regular season. So I think that this is kind of the perfect way for them to respect his goal of playing in all 82 games, but also saying, hey, we have to tone things down a little bit because they care about how fresh he is when the postseason arrives. Like there's been a plan to sit Donovan Mitchell in games. We've seen him out for rest. We've seen Darius Garland miss games with rest. We've seen Evan Mobley miss games with rest. If Jarrett Allen did not have this goal of playing in all 82 games, we probably would have seen him miss games for resting purposes. This is essentially that. This is a way for the Cavs to rest Jarrett Allen while keeping that goal intact. I don't know that this is going to happen in every game the rest of the way. I would doubt that. But I would think that this is going to happen in at least one or two more of the remaining 5 games that the Cavs have. I think that we will see this probably happen again, but I would not anticipate it happening in every single game just because you don't want to get a guy's minutes load so low. But he played 15 minutes in the first half. Thought he played well. As I mentioned, I thought he had some really nice passes to Evan Mobley. But I do think that this is a good way for the Cavs to get Jarrett that required rest without necessarily, ruining his chances of reaching his goal, because I do think they respect that. And I think that this is a really smart and proper way to handle this situation. Elsewhere in the NBA, the Boston Celtics beat the Phoenix Suns on Friday night. So the Cavs did not clinch the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference yet. Their magic number is now down to 1. If they beat the Sacramento Kings on Sunday or the Boston Celtics lose, I believe they play the Washington Wizards on Sunday, so don't hold your breath there. If the Cavs beat the Sacramento Kings on Sunday, they will earn the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. This would be the 4th time in franchise history the Cavs have finished the season with the best record in the Eastern Conference. It happened in 2009, 2010, and of course the year they won the title in 2016. Those are the only 3 seasons, I believe, in franchise history that they've been the number 1 seed. And that is something that at this point, as I've been talking about this, is a formality. Like, this is not something that needs to be stressed over. The Cavs will win, I can assure you, one of their final 5 games, and they will be the top seed in the Eastern Conference. Also of note, Houston beat OKC. And one, if you care about this, I don't necessarily think this is a thing worth caring about, but that does lock in the Cavs 16-game winning streak as the longest winning streak in the regular season this year. So I guess that is a cool accomplishment. And 2, it does sort of keep the hope alive for the Cavs to finish with the best record. I believe that the tiebreaker for that is record against your own conference. And the Cavs have a 3-game lead over OKC. Like, the Cavs record against the East right now is 3 games better than OKC's record against the West. And OKC has more games left against the West. They have no more games against the East. The Cavs still have 1 more game against Western Conference. So they have 4 games left against the East, and OKC, I believe, has 5 games left against the West. So the Cavs theoretically could catch OKC. They've got a 2-game lead over the Cavs. And I do think the Cavs would have the tiebreaker there. So the dream of hosting game 1 of the finals in Cleveland is not over. I would not deem this as something that is likely, though. I would bet that OKC is going to take care of business and not lose 2 of their final 5 games, and the Cavs will maybe not win out. I don't know how seriously they're going to take those final 3 games against Indy, New York, and Indy again next weekend, but we will see. It's certainly something to keep an eye on. I did, as I mentioned earlier, I did have an eventful Friday. I went and bought a car. I just want to give a quick shout out to Rick and Justin over at Liberty Ford in Brunswick. Both of them said they listened to the podcast. Like, I didn't go in there because they said, hey, come on out. Like, I saw a car that I liked online, and that's where it was. And, I walked in there, and Rick goes, hey, you Locked On Cavs, right? I go, yeah, that's me. And he's a guy that listens every day. So I just appreciate them really, really helping me out. And I appreciate them listening as well. So shout out to those guys, two really good guys that was happy to get to deal with on Friday. But thank you for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. Like I said earlier, you can find the show anywhere you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating. Leave us a nice review. Be a friend. Tell a friend about Locked On Cavs. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure a friend is subscribed as well. And if you're watching the show on YouTube, do me a favor. Hit that thumbs up button for me. Click subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content. I will be back on Monday talking about the Cavs taking on the Kings.